From the neon-lit beats of Michael Jackson's Billie Jean and Prince's Purple Rain,
Purple rain, purple rain.
to the stadium-filling rock of Bon Jovi's Livin' on a Prayer. The 1980s was a decade of bold sounds, synthesizers, and unforgettable anthems. The era was defined by electrifying pop, rock, and dance music. New wave and synth pop exploded with bands like Duran Duran, Depeche Mode, and a-ha, while hair metal acts like Def Leppard and Poison dominated MTV.
I guess every rose has its thorn.
But for every superstar act, there were one-hit wonders, artists who had their moment in the spotlight but quickly faded. In this video, we look at one-hit wonders of the 1980s and how these music acts disappeared from the limelight and were forgotten in music history. What's your favorite one-hit wonder from the 80s? I Want to Be a Cowboy by Boys Don't Cry. A quirky semi-novelty hit with a Western theme, this song peaked at number 12 on the Billboard Hot 100. Despite its catchy appeal, the band never had another major hit. Boys Don't Cry was a British new wave pop rock band that emerged in the mid-1880s. They are best known for their quirky semi-novelty hit I Want to Be a Cowboy in 1986, which became a surprise success in the United States, but failed to establish them as a mainstream act.
I wanna be a cowboy, and you can be my cowgirl.
Boys Don't Cry blended elements of new wave, pop rock, synth pop, and a touch of comedy in their music. Their sound was heavily influenced by the synth-driven, catchy melodies of the 1980s, but also featured tongue-in-cheek lyrics and a playful, satirical approach. They were often compared to bands like Devo, Wall of Voodoo, and the B-52s,
I'll give you fish, I'll give you candy, I'll give you.
who also incorporated humor and irony into their music. I Want to Be a Cowboy was seen as a novelty song, which made it hard for the band to be taken seriously in the industry. Once the gimmick wore off, there was no solid follow-up hit to sustain their momentum. By the late 80s, new wave was fading, and rock, hair metal, and early alternative sounds were taking over. Boys Don't Cry's style felt too gimmicky for long-term success. Other British synth-pop bands like Duran Duran, Tears for Fears, and Depeche Mode were dominating the charts. Making it difficult for Boys Don't Cry to compete. Boys Don't Cry will always be remembered for their quirky, one-hit wonder status in the 1980s. Their mix of humor, catchy hooks, and synth-driven production made them a fun but fleeting part of the decade's music scene. Your Love by The Outfield. This song remains a staple of 80s nostalgia, but The Outfield never produced another track that matched its impact, making them a one-hit wonder in the mainstream. The Outfield was a British rock band known for their power pop sound, blending catchy melodies, jangly guitars, and polished production. Their music was characterized by upbeat rhythms, infectious hooks, and the distinctive, high-pitched vocals of lead singer Tony Lewis. Drawing inspiration from bands like the Beatles and Badfinger,
I wanna hold your hand. I wanna hold your hand. Can't you wait till there too long?
the Outfield sound was radio-friendly and quintessentially 80s, with a touch of new wave and arena rock flair. The Outfield is remembered as a one-hit wonder in the US, thanks to their smash single Your Love, which became an enduring anthem of the 1980s.
I don't wanna lose. use your love tonight.
While they never achieved the same level of success with subsequent releases, they maintained a loyal fan base and are celebrated for their ability to craft memorable, feel-good rock songs. Their music has experienced a resurgence in popularity in recent years, thanks to its inclusion in movies, TV shows, and video games. The Outfield may not have achieved lasting mainstream fame, but their infectious melodies and timeless hits like Your Love have cemented their place in the pantheon of 80s rock. The Promise by When in Rome. A classic synth-pop ballad, The Promise peaked at number 11 on the charts, but When in Rome never managed to capitalize on its success and quickly disappeared. When in Rome was a British new wave and synth-pop band that gained brief fame in the late 1980s with their hit The Promise in 1988.
I'm sorry, but I'm just thinking of the right words to say. I know they don't.
Despite this one major success, they failed to achieve lasting mainstream recognition and quickly disbanded. When in Rome's music was a mix of synth-pop and new wave, their biggest hit, The Promise, had an emotional depth that resonated with fans.
Make you fall for me, I promise you I will.
The band's music often featured soaring melodies and heartfelt vocal delivery. The Promise became an instant classic, but the band struggled to follow it up with another hit of the same caliber. Their self-titled debut album in 1988 didn't produce any other major singles. When in Rome is a textbook one-hit wonder, a band that struck gold with a single song but couldn't sustain a career. Despite their short time in the spotlight, The Promise remains a beloved 80s anthem, keeping the band's name alive decades later. Somebody's Watching Me by Rockwell. This eerie hit featured Michael Jackson on the chorus, but Rockwell couldn't sustain a career beyond this gimmick-heavy song. Rockwell was an American R&B and synth-pop singer, best known for his 1984 Paranoia-themed hit, Somebody's Watching Me.
I always feel like somebody's watching me, and I'm no privacy.
Despite the song's success, Rockwell never achieved lasting mainstream fame, largely due to industry nepotism, lack of follow-up hits, and shifting music trends. Rockwell's music was a mix of synth-pop and R&B. His songs often had a storytelling element, especially with themes of paranoia and unease. His vocal style was somewhat spoken word and exaggerated, making his delivery unique but not always radio-friendly beyond his hit song. Rockwell's real name was Kennedy William Gordy, and he was the son of Motown founder Berry Gordy. He reportedly landed a record deal without an audition, which led to criticism that he didn't earn his success on merit. Many saw him as a novelty act riding on his father's connections and Michael Jackson's vocals. His debut single was so heavily defined by Michael Jackson's guest vocals that Rockwell struggled to prove himself as a solo artist. Rockwell is remembered almost exclusively for Somebody's Watching Me, which remains a Halloween playlist staple and an iconic 80s paranoia anthem. Tarzan Boy by Baltimora. A dance pop anthem known for its jungle chant, Tarzan Boy became a cult classic but failed to establish Baltimora as a lasting act. Baltimora was an Italian-based new wave and Italo disco project that gained brief international fame in the mid-1880s. The group was best known for their infectious hit Tarzan Boy in 1985. A song featuring jungle chants, an upbeat synth melody, and a playful, danceable rhythm. Despite this massive hit, Baltimora quickly faded from the music scene. Baltimora's music was a blend of Italo disco, a subgenre of dance music that emerged in Italy in the early 80s, featuring synthesizers, drum machines, and futuristic production. Baltimora's music had a distinctly European club vibe, making it more successful in dance clubs than on rock or pop radio. However, a lack of a true band identity, failure to evolve musically, and changing industry trends meant they were destined to remain a one-hit wonder in pop history. And that's a wrap on these one-hit wonder songs from the 1980s. Do you remember any of these forgotten gems, and what's your favorite one-hit wonder from the 80s? Leave them in the comments below if you know any. If you love discovering these hidden gems, hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell for more deep dives into rock and pop history. Until the next video, see ya.